Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the space for powerhouse women ready to step into their next level of abundance, purpose, and personal freedom. I'm Dr. Corey Winn, a high performance coach, doctor of physical therapy, philanthropist, and business consultant. I help ambitious women align with their highest calling, expand their wealth and impact, and create a life that feels as good as it looks. If you're a high achieving woman who's built success yet finds yourself craving more alignment, more purpose, more ease, you're in the right place. Here, we bridge the gap between ambition and fulfillment. Through transformative conversations and proven strategies, you'll gain the courage to step into the fullest expression of you. Build a powerhouse business that aligns with your expertise and divine gifts, and lead your life, both personally and professionally, with unshakable confidence, worthiness, and compassion. This is about expansion, legacy, and owning your power unapologetically. You already have everything inside of you to create a life of unlimited possibility. It's time to unlock it. Welcome to your next level. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Today's guest is a woman whose mission hits incredibly close to home for me. As a mother to a strong, well-developed, and very, very empowered 9-year-old, I see firsthand how deeply our girls need role models who show them that they are powerful, capable, and worthy of being seen beyond stereotypes. Jodi Bondi Norgaard is exactly that kind of role model. She's an entrepreneur, keynote speaker, author, and gender equality advocate who turned a moment of frustration into a movement. When Jodi walked down the pink saturated toy aisle and realized how limiting the options were for girls, she didn't just complain, she created. She founded the Dream Big Toy Company and launched Go-Go Sports Girls, a groundbreaking line of dolls designed to empower instead of objectify, to reflect strength, movement, and possibility. Jodi, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Corey. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So take us back to that moment. Let's hear the journey. I want to hear everything.
Oh my gosh, I know. And it's so interesting that your daughter is 9 because that's the exact age my daughter was when I had this aha moment. And I have to tell you, prior to my aha moment, I had many situations that shaped who I am and how I feel about gender issues, my own personal experiences with
Right,
inequality, but I'd push it aside because I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't
right.
know what I could do to make a difference until I had a moment. So I'm just going to set the scene for you. Um, like I said, my daughter was 9 and she had just gotten done playing soccer. So it's a Saturday afternoon when she is dressed in her soccer uniform, her shin guards, her cleats, her hair is in crazy messy pigtails, and her face is all rosy with exertion. And I tell you this because she looked like a normal kid on a
Oh,
Saturday
yeah.
afternoon, right? Just,
Mhm.
just like she had fun, she had a game, whatever. So I had one of those panicky parent moments when we're running into the toy store because she needed a wrap birthday gift for a party she was attending in 30 minutes, right? We
Are
all
you sure this isn't my yesterday or my last Saturday afternoon?
got, right? You're like, we got to get this going.
You grab the bag and the tissue paper, even though you know you have it at home. Yeah.
Right,
Anyway.
exactly. So we're running up and down the aisles when a line of dolls just stopped me in my tracks. They had on short skirts, crop top, belly button ring, big hair, lots of makeup. I look at my normal looking little girl. I pick up one of the dolls and I bought the doll and I have it right here. She travels with me and she sits by me. But the name on the hang tag was Lovely Lola. She's been through a lot. But this is the doll that just was like the straw that broke the camel's back. I looked at
Mhm.
this doll and I'm like, what in the world are we marketing to girls? So
Mhm.
this particular doll named Lovely Lola. So I started to pull the other dolls in the line, and there was Cute Candy and Sizzle and Sue and Dazzle and Destiny. And I'm like, I'm done. I am
Mhm.
done. And I bought the doll, obviously, as I am scolding all the salespeople, right, in the store. I'm saying, like, look, you should not be marketing sex to girls. And the kid's like, yeah, I'm 16. I'm like, but whatever, tell somebody because this is insane.
Right. She's
I
9. We don't need crop tops and short shorts.
Honestly, for a 9-year-old kid. So as I'm running out the door, my daughter's like, Mom, stop, stop. She's like, is that the birthday gift for Maddie? I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm buying it to show Dad. I need to show Dad, which really confused her. But I brought the doll home to my husband and I said, hey, listen, I am so sick and tired of these negative messages that we're marketing to girls. And I think I can do something about it. I think I can create a positive image product that encourages girls to be healthy physically, mentally, and emotionally through sports and physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it all started, just because of Lola. My encounter with Lola led me on that path of my journey for sure.
Well, and I love this so much. I just had this vision of an Instagram reel that I saw recently, and it's a coffee cup that as it heats up, it says it was never a dress. And it's a person, and the dress part becomes a cape. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, that is how we want to empower women. So tell us how you got started, who you partnered with, like how did you go from that incredibly frustrating moment, which I see all the time. I look at the toys and I'm like, as far as we've come, it's still so high sex marketing to young girls.
Mhm. Well, it's interesting that you say that because it is around that age of, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's when I really started to see the discrepancy. Like if you look prior when our kids are younger,
Hmm.
you have Bluey, you have, shows that are, appealing to, all kids. But
Hmm.
then around that age that I just mentioned, we start to see products marketed to girls associated with appearance and attractiveness and products marketed to boys associated with violence and aggression. And I have two boys as well. Obviously all my kids are grown, but I didn't, my boys were never violent or aggressive and I didn't want to encourage that. And my daughter was super smart and I never wanted her to think, wow, all of a sudden I need to start focusing on my appearance. And
Hmm.
I should tell you, one of my realizations of this was a toy that, well, when I wanted to buy a science kit for the kids. It was one summer, and I'm like, okay, I go into a toy store, and I'm immediately annoyed because it had a boy science aisle and a girl science aisle. I'm like, seriously? Like, when did science become gender specific? I was so annoyed that I didn't make any waves, and I just followed directions. I'm curious. Down the boy toy aisle, I found really cool things. One with the volcano, right? That you put the vinegar
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
floating. The boys have goggles on, and it shows a lot of action. I'm like, okay, pretty cool. And so I go to the girl science aisle because I'm curious, what are they marketing differently to girls? I was so distraught. It was amazing. Yeah, you could be a scientist for sure, but you can make your own fingernail polish, you can make your own perfume, you can make your own hair scrunchie, your own makeup. Again, it all revolved around appearance. It's just annoying. It's ridiculous. So anyway, again, it's one of those situations that I didn't know what I could do differently, so I just, pushed it aside. But again, very, very ticked about it. So when I moved forward on my positive image product for girls, I'll tell you, I knew nothing about the toy industry. I knew nothing about designing. I knew nothing about manufacturing, retail, shipping, Zippo. So I
Hmm.
needed to figure it out. And I asked a lot of questions. It did take 2 years from rough draft to the actual debut of the first doll. But at first, what I needed to do was some research. Were there any sports dolls out there? No. But what I did find, 72 lines of fashion dolls.
Hmm.
72 lines, 72 brands. I found rag dolls, baby dolls, and then 70. There's nothing else. So I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm filling a void, right? I'm filling
Right.
a need. And
Hmm.
so then, I found that, sports and physical activity, I did my homework, are associated with improved academic achievement, healthy body image, leadership skills, and those leadership skills extend into adulthood where, what is it, 500 female corporate executives were surveyed and 94% had played a sport when they were younger. I'm like, that's it.
Oh
Amazing,
yeah.
right? Like,
Hello. Team
yeah,
building.
team building, leadership. It offers so many different, amazing.
How many of them were captains of said team?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's just like I'm like, okay, I'm onto something, and I needed to design. And my daughter was the best. model for me and all her friends. Every time they'd come over, I'd measure their wingspan, the size of their head, the length of their torso, the length of their legs, and I shrunk it down so it was in correct proportion to a little girl's body.
Mhm.
So my first sale after those 2 years of doing all of that, it was interesting. I mean, it it was hard, but I learned a ton, and it was exciting too. But my first sale is I just by chance it was a nice day, and I was in a it was so not glamorous at all. But my kids were in school, and I was in a big old parking lot, and I thought, man, what, I'm just going to call the United States Tennis Association and see if they'd be interested in something for the U.S. Open. And
Yes.
I know I got to the right person, and then
I mean, you think of Venus and Serena Williams,
I
like
know.
they're like absolutely incredible athletes, and they don't fit in like the
The fashion.
stereotypical 20 years ago doll.
No, no, exactly. And so I called and I got to the right person, and they're like, yeah, we'll take 500. And those 500
Wow.
viewed at the US Open in New York in 2008, in August of 2008. And they sold out, 500 sold out in 6 days. And
That is just so incredible. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, it is incredible. It really is. I mean, I really thought that going into my next goal was to launch the line of 9 dolls at the New York Toy Fair, where everybody comes from all over the world to see what the next best thing is, right? And I'm like, it's me, it's me. I've got the next best thing. And I was borderline cocky. And that's when I realized, wow, this is amazing. I had so many buyers come to my booth and say, I love your product. My daughter plays soccer. She would love Soccer Girl. And I'd say, great. How many would you like to buy? And I always got the hand. No, 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 no. We're not going to buy it. And I'd say, why? And they said, ultimately, girls like fashion. Can you create a fashion doll? I'm like, that's my point. As
Yeah.
a mother of a daughter and as a woman, I'm positive girls like more than fashion. And don't
Oh
get
yeah.
me wrong, I love fashion. I love when people express themselves. I love when, designers create incredible, artwork.
Great. Think of the Met Gala
I
just last
know
weekend. I mean, it was incredible.
it is incredible. But does fashion define women? Every
Absolutely
woman? Absolutely not.
not.
Absolutely not. So I also knew that mainstream ideas never create change, and I was creating change.
Mhm. Oh, I love that. Mainstream ideas never create change. I love that. Well, and
Mhm.
just in this conversation with you having a daughter who played soccer, my best friends in college played soccer and in graduate school. And I remember being in physical therapy school and learning, obviously, all the muscles of everywhere. And I looked at my best friend and she's like, well, yeah, of course I played soccer. I've got thunder thighs. And I remember looking at her and this absolutely beautiful woman. And from a physical therapy standpoint, I'm going, you have exactly the amount of muscle that you need to protect your body to play a sport that you love, period. And if you look across all the different types of athletes, muscles are different in different proportions depending on the sport that you play. So you can't be all one size, just like all the dolls were. So I just love this so much. I hope that is coming across. It's just like, oh,
I know. And your friend referring to her, very athletic legs, obviously, is thunder thighs. That's society
oh yeah, 100%.
fitting us into a box. Like if her thighs are muscular, they're considered thunder thighs, right?
Right. Yeah,
And the guy, if he had, muscular legs, it's like, wow, that's great. That's sexy, right?
exactly. You're
That's
healthy, you're strong, you're able to do all the things that you want to do.
yes, but yeah, and it does make me sad. We put these labels like when I was younger, I remember, people saying to me in the winter in the Midwest, where, I always say I do February really well. I really blend in. But my hair, but when I was younger, I remember, people saying, "Oh gosh, your hair, you're dishwater blonde." I'm like, ew, like whoever coined that, that's icky.
Yeah.
Dishwater,
Oh yeah. Oh
so
yeah.
we say these things to women to kind of put us down, right?
Mhm.
Under thighs, dishwater, blonde hair, these negative, you think about to yourself like, what does that mean, right? So
Oh yeah.
anyway, I go off topic here. So, but okay.
No. But so we started out with 500 for the US Open, right?
Mhm.
Then we go to working with like the Gina Davis Institute and the White House Gender Policy Council. So tell us, I mean, those are incredibly huge opportunities. So tell us how you got there.
Oh wow, okay. So I will tell you, once I started getting these, negative comments from, the toy industry, I had enough to keep me going, right? A lot of the smaller toy stores would buy from me. It did very well online on Amazon.com, all those things. It did really Toys R Us. So it was really well received online. But to get them into toy stores was really, really difficult. But I saw this disconnect because I had, I was in every media outlet, like, not every, but so many. For instance, the Today Show called me saying, we want to do a feature on you. Okay. Who gets that, right? Like, you don't
Right. Yeah.
a product that doesn't mean anything. The Today Show doesn't call you to do that. So there were things like that. I was in Good Housekeeping, the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune. It just went on and on and on. And so I realized that I had a pulse on what our culture wanted, and that parents wanted more for their girls too. But the buyers were my gatekeepers. And I won all the top awards in the toy industry, the Oppenheim Toy Portfolio Platinum Award, the Creative Child Toy of the Year Award. Again, these disconnects were these letters from parents saying, thank you for creating this doll for my daughter. I wish I would have had this when I was a little girl. So I was getting all this positive feedback, but nothing from the buyers. So
Mhm.
I hung in there for 5 long years.
I was going to say it takes a long time to change people's minds.
It was. And then I had this crazy opportunity. I went to Toy Fair one last time. I told my husband, I said, listen, if nothing happens, I have to throw in the towel, which just broke my heart because I knew women and girls deserve more, but I had to be realistic too.
Right.
So I had this crazy opportunity to pitch to 3 Walmart buyers. And I will tell you how many people in the toy industry said, don't do that. Don't do that. Do not work with Walmart because they will chew you up and spit you out. I'm like, I'm totally doing this. I am totally going to do. Why wouldn't I do this? That's crazy. At least even if they say no, they'll have some feedback for me. So I'm totally doing it.
Right. Oh yeah.
So I did. I gave them my best pitch, 5 minutes, and they said, this is a winner. If you can write 6 books to go along with 6 of the dolls, package them together, we'll put them in Walmart stores. And that's really what got the ball rolling. Again, I needed to figure out, I was already working with an author in Minnesota. Her name is Kara Tom, and she's fabulous. She's one of my dearest friends now. And she, wrote 6 books to go along with the dolls. It took about a year. I hired an editor and an illustrator. I had to become a publisher. I needed to figure all that out again. I mean, I was at Walmart, like measuring their shelves, like, because, it's like everything is worth like a penny,
Oh
every
yeah.
space. And so, I created that and they were successful in Walmart. And that's just what got the ball rolling. And that was in 2015. And then in 2016, I was invited to participate in conferences on breaking down gender stereotypes in media and toys under the Obama administration, which was so cool. I know, that was just amazing. And then I was having additional issues, which was capital, right? So now my Walmart order, and this is one thing you just have to continue to figure it out as an entrepreneur. And so I thought, you know what, I will try and find someone to buy or license the product. And I did. I was successful and found a toy company called Jazzwares. They're down in Miami. And they acquired the brand in 2016. So that's when, I started working with them, and I actually thought my story ended there. And we designed hard body dolls. So my dolls were plush.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
designed hard body dolls because hard body dolls sells that's like a plastic doll, sells better
Right.
in mass. And
Right.
so the craziest thing happened then. They hired two new guys as a VP of marketing and a senior vice president of marketing. And they both weren't convinced a girl empowerment product could work. And I had to repitch it to them. And I convinced one and I didn't convince the other. And so it was the best breakup ever because they returned the intellectual property to me. They didn't have to do that
Yeah.
because it was they bought it. They could have just, tucked it away in a filing cabinet, but they did the right thing and they returned it to me. But that's when I realized my journey was more than a doll, and
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't going to ever give up fighting for women and girls. And
Mm-hmm.
so when the Biden administration, or when Biden got into office, he made an executive order to start the Gender Policy Council. I immediately reached out to the person he put in charge. Her name is Jen Klein. And I said, I'd love to work with you. And she said yes.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I got to, I mean, it's just, I swear, just the ask, just the ask. You may get
Well,
500 no's,
right.
but it takes one yes, right? It was
Because if
just
you don't ask, it's definitely no.
exactly, exactly.
And
And
I
she,
hope that our audience hears that today, because if you don't ask, the answer is no. If you make the decision, doors open every way. And not only is this story so incredibly heartwarming for me and close to home because I have a 9-year-old, but I have a nonprofit for people with disabilities. My uncle had a spinal cord injury. So to also see on the shelves, not only girls in sports, but girls in wheelchairs, girls with crutches, girls with braces or glasses and freckles and all different races and all different sizes. I mean, that threw the door open for not only gender inclusion, but having a doll that looks like me, having a doll that looks like you, having a doll that looks like my daughter's best friend, you know, and it also, I hope our audience also hears that the more just mainstream people see all these different body types, all these different things going on with dolls or toys, it opens their eyes to, oh, these things affect other kiddos too.
Mhm.
So, how can you speak to, your work with the Gender Policy Council and how that shaped kind of from then to now?
Well, I want to add to one of your points because I think you make a very good point, and how, what I'm doing with my book, The More Than a Doll, is sounding the siren that gender inequality doesn't start in our teens or our 20s. It starts the moment a child can hold a book, a toy, or watch a screen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it doesn't, like, when girls see this, it doesn't just affect how girls feel they should be. And it affects how boys treat girls too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there, when my kids were little, they're younger, I noticed that these t-shirts that were out there marketed to boys, it said training to be Batman, or I'm a superhero. And to girls, the same t-shirts on the same table, training to be Batman's wife, I need a hero. So
Mm-hmm.
what the messages that they're giving boys and girls is that boys, you're the main character, girls, you're in a supporting role, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just t-shirts, it's not just products, it's everything, right? It's the thunder thighs, it's the, the dishwater blonde hair, all these things create confidence issues in women.
Mm-hmm.
And so studies show by the age of 9, your daughter's age, that a young girl starts to feel, that's when their confidence peaks. And then she starts to feel the need to look, act, and conform to a way a girl should look. And that is super sad. When little girls are 5, they come out of preschool thinking that their gender cannot do as much as the male gender. I mean, so I'm looking at the root of the problem. So
Right.
there's so many things out there that tell women, you know, lean in, how, how to buck up, how, self-help classes to do it all, to fit it all. I mean, how to fix us, right? But what I've learned is that we're not broken. It's our
Mhm.
system that's broken and our culture that needs to be fixed. And we need to look at the root of the problem that we've never done. We just slap on these classes to women or these self-help, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But we need to look at the root of the problem. So anyway, so that's just a little like side note that I just wanted to share with you. But I can move forward.
No, I love that so much because I think back to my childhood and love my mom dearly. She worked hard but she was in she was a secretary in elementary school, a teacher's assistant, and that was kind of the path. And I realize now that I've surrounded myself, my two best friends are engineers, high top level university engineers working in nuclear power plants, and I surround myself with women like you. My daughter has seen me leave, corporate healthcare, continue on in healthcare, but now have a podcast and surround myself with female entrepreneurs who are breaking down barriers. And she sees, wow, look what I can do. Versus when I was younger, you were going to be a nurse, a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
a
Yep.
secretary. And
Mm-hmm.
again, all of those jobs are incredibly vital. And I hope that our audience hears that because some of my very best friends are nurses. We wouldn't be in healthcare without nurses. We wouldn't be in our world where we are without teachers and secretaries. So I don't want to ever belittle any job that's out there. And I also want to hear that there's no job that's off limits if you're a woman. That's
Exactly.
what I want to say.
Exactly. And I agree with you 100% because it's having a very wide range of opportunities. It's not saying, you have limited choices, right?
Right. Right.
My best friend from college is an amazing teacher, and that was perfect, for her, and she's spectacular. I
Hmm.
don't even know if there's a better teacher out there. So
I
that
know. I know.
but when I was younger, and maybe a lot of people will, uh, identify with this, but I was very sensitive. I was very compassionate. I was very empathetic. And when I was in grade school, that was viewed as my strength, right? I was that kid that teacher would say, XYZ student is having trouble in recess. Nobody's playing with them. Would you mind making an effort to bring them in, right?
Right.
So, but as I got older and into high school, I began to hear I was too sensitive, I was too compassionate, I was too empathetic, and that this was my weakness, and which was
Hmm.
very confusing, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
it was looked upon when I was younger as a strength, and then as I got older, it was looked upon as, negative, right? Like
Oh yeah.
my guidance counselor in high school told me I was too kind and too nice to go to college and into business, and that I was better suited for somebody else's assistant. And I never wanted to be anybody else's assistant. That's just not me. But to tell this,
We want to drive the bus. We don't want to be
no,
sitting in it.
nice doesn't mean I am geared for an assistance position. I don't think that's fair to do that. So, to your point, just because you have certain personality strengths, traits, does not mean that that's what you have to do. And I think a lot of times with women, we are put into, those boxes, the Barbie box, back in the box. And I don't agree with that. I agree with you. We should have a huge array of choices.
Well, and I think back, so my parents were in college in the 70s. My mother had loved animals and still does every day of her life. She wanted to go to vet school. What did her advisor in the 1970s tell her? We don't like women in the vet school. You need to choose something different.
it's so sad.
And I think back and it's like, I can't imagine someone telling me that. And I have the kind of personality that would say, hold my coffee, watch this.
Yeah,
But that's not my mom,
yeah.
you know? And I think back and how many women have been told that over the years and have settled for whatever job somebody told them that they should be in and are horribly unhappy and are not fulfilled and have this flame inside them that's like, oh, but if I had only. And, don't let anybody tell you what you can or can't do.
So just, I guess, wrapping it up and going, moving forward where I am right now. Once, it took, about 5 years to 4 or 5 years to get the book out there. So it took a while. The Go-Go Sports Girl books are still on Amazon. I am in talks with another toy company, so I'm hoping that the dolls will be, back out there in a couple, in a good year or year and a half. So fingers crossed on that. And and then I worked with the Gina Davis Institute, and how I did that is it was with the toy industry. I started with another woman called, her name is, very good friend, Laurel Wider, and she started Wonder Crew, line of dolls for boys, and she started those years ago because her young son came home from preschool, and he said, "Mom, I cried at school today." And she's like, "I'm so sorry," like any mother would say. And she said, "But I was told boys don't cry." And she's like, "That's it. I've had it." And so she started this amazing line of dolls for boys. And so
Mhm.
she and I have been partners for a long time. And we started the first diversity, equity, and inclusion committee in the Toy Association. And we received funding from them to do a third party testing with the Gina Davis Institute on how diversity, equity, and inclusion are lacking in toys. And it,
I mean, I think about just having sent, taken my daughter to get a birthday gift a couple of weeks ago. And yes, you can make every bracelet, every hair scrunchie. It's still like that. I do feel like, and I would love your input, I do feel like there are different races of dolls that are now portrayed, but I still see sex being portrayed young, still high fashion. And again, we love fashion. I'm same. I love fashion. And everything that you're pushing for is so incredibly needed because it's still lacking.
Mhm. Yes, even you're probably familiar with the little LOL dolls.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Well, there was a hidden feature that wasn't disclosed in those. I wrote an article about it. I write for Ms. Magazine. This was for She Knows. They picked that one up. But anyway, with these little dolls, a couple years ago, they found out when you you took their clothes off, they had a color change, right? And you would dip them in cold water, and maybe the doll with white hair now came out with pink hair. So pretty cool for little girls. But what the company didn't disclose was that MGA, they're the designers of the Bratz dolls. You would dip them in water, and some of the little dolls would come up with lingerie, sexy lingerie on. Others had caution tape over their private parts. Some had a devil's tail on the backside, and others had shackles on their wrists and ankles. This happened. I mean, so it's still out there alive and kicking. And it won the top award in the toy industry through the Toy Association, one of the top awards for, I think it was 2019, 20, and 21. And I brought this up to the Toy Association. I'm like, "Do you know this is happening?" And they're like, "No, we never knew that." I'm like, "Yeah, be careful."
Because we need to be promoting S&M to 9-year-olds because they wouldn't even know what it is.
They wouldn't know what it is.
And then it creates even more confusion.
Right, right. So these things, it's still alive and kicking. We have to be very careful. We have to be very diligent in what we, buy for our kids. And I do want to say that women have so much power just because we're 51% of the population, but we hold over 80% of the consumer purchasing power. So
Mhm.
it is something where I feel like women, we need to know the power and the strength that we have. So if there is something out there that you do not like, you do not agree with, do not buy it.
Oh
And in
yeah.
the back of book, I have different resources on where you can go to complain about different products as well. But these companies, they listen. They will listen to you, especially if you're not buying it and they're
Well, and
not.
you can see that now with just the protesting of certain brands and certain stores. DEI and inclusion and equitable partnerships, all of the things are so important to people. And, I don't ever like to make the podcast political, but I also think that that's incredibly important to recognize because it's so much more than what people think. From a physical therapy standpoint, for someone who's worked with patients with neurological diseases for so long, the ADA is part of DEI. Just accessibility, ramps, being able to get into these stores is so incredibly important. So, all that you do to empower women and young girls, I'm just so happy to have you on the show today. I want to make sure that people can get in touch with you. So, how can they follow you? How can they reach out to you about what you're doing right now? All the things. How can they get your book?
Yep. Yeah. The book is on wherever you want to get it. Like, uh, bookshop.com. Of course, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I'm always looking for reviews on Amazon, though. I'd rather you go to your local bookshop and buy it and support the local bookshops. But Amazon does, I'm always looking for reviews. I write on Substack, LinkedIn, any social media. Shoot me an email if you have a question. I'm happy to respond and help out. I'm just on a mission. It's asking for gender equality, or just equality. It shouldn't be this hard, and it shouldn't be this difficult. According to the World Economic Forum, we're 132 years, that was 2 years ago, 132 years away from gender equality, and we've gone backwards. As of 2024, we were 136 years away from that. And I know it's going backwards. 2025, I'm sure it will be even different. So, we have to use our voices. We have to continue to talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. We need to continue these conversations. We cannot sit quietly.
No, we can't. And until it affects you, you don't really grasp how important it is. So until you have a daughter who's looking for a soccer doll at the store, or a daughter with a wheelchair, or even a son, like you said, with wanting to have kind of a more of a sensitive space, that's what speaks. When parents come out and start shopping for things differently, it's a big deal. Is there anything left that you'd like to kind of leave our audience with today?
Oh, no, just stay strong, stand tall, and dream big and go for it.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on today.
Oh, thank you, Corey. It's been a pleasure.
As we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with this. Your next level is already within you. If you're feeling that pull for more clarity, more alignment, and more courage to step fully into who you're meant to be, this is your invitation to take the next step. Whether you're an entrepreneur ready to scale or a woman standing at the edge of something bigger, the path forward starts with trusting your desires, owning your worth, and leading with your inner knowing. This is exactly what I offer. Private VIP coaching, and where I guide women inside the 10K Club and 50K Club through consulting with She Sells and Superhuman Selling to help you gain clarity, step into aligned action, and build a life and business that reflects your highest vision. If you're ready to explore what's next, let's have a conversation. Book a free call now at www.corywinn.com/free call. I can't wait to connect with you. Talk soon.